Thank you. I wish to recognize the presence of the High Table, Honorable Fatuma Tanjai, member, National Assembly member, and member of National Assembly Standing Committee on Human Rights and Constitutional Matters. Honorable Chairperson, National Human Rights Commission, Emmanuel Daniel Juf, Honorable Special Advisor to the Attorney General and Head of Secretariat Post TRRC Unit, Aida Person, Madam Julde Sise, Deputy Permanent Secretary, representing the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs. Honorable Commissioners here present, Commissioner Diba, Directors of NHRC, Senior Government Officials, Staff NHRC, Excellencies, Ambassador EU Delegation in the Gambia, and Deputy Ambassador EU Delegation, Deputy Head of Mission, British High Commission to the Gambia, representatives of the UN system, UNDP, OHCHR, and others, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen of the media, we have the great honor and pleasure to host this August gathering on the auspicious occasion of the validation of report to the National Assembly on the third status of implementation of the Gambia government white paper on the TRRC. You will recall that with the conclusion of TRRC, the NHRC has been tasked as the natural body to monitor the implementations of the TRRC recommendations in order to achieve the never again mantra. Since then, the Commission has been producing status report on the implementation. And we are gathered here today to validate the third of such report. This validation is significant in many ways. It allows broader consultations beyond the multi-stakeholder monitoring committee, which is housed at NHRC. It creates a fair process which allows sectors to review the data or information in the report. And it allows us to fill in the gaps, leading to enhancing the credibility of the data and information. So indeed, this validation is very important to all of us. I wish to recognize the efforts of the drafting committee in delivering this report on time. Without wasting much time, I would now like to call upon the Honorable Chairperson of National Human Rights Commission, Mr. Emmanuel Daniel Juf, to come forward and deliver the opening statement, to deliver the welcoming remarks. Mr. Chair, you are most welcome.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gassama, the MC of the occasion. Honorable Fatuma Tanjai, Member, National Assembly, Standing Committee on Human Rights and Constitutional Matters. Madam Ida Person, wearing two hats today, that of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, but most importantly also as the Special Advisor to the Attorney General and Head of Secretariat of the Post-TRRC Unit. We welcome you. The DPS, Madam Julde Cisse, representing the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, distinguished representatives of government ministries, departments, and agencies. I recognize the presence of UNDP, Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, the British Embassy, the British High Commission, rather, the European Union, present, International IDEA, Tango. I think we have a good representation of all the stakeholders here present. And of course, the Media Council coming in just right now. Civil society organizations, victim and victim-led organizations, members of the National Monitoring Committee, community and religious leaders, development partners, commissioners and staff, executive secretary, staff of the NHRC, invited participants and members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and a very warm welcome to you all. It is really my honor to welcome you to this very important validation forum that is convened by the National Human Rights Commission for the review and enrichment of the draft third status report on the implementation of the government white paper on the TRRC report, which will be submitted to the National Assembly once we finish the validation and sanitize the report. Allow me to start with sincerely thanking you, each one of you, for responding to our invitation. Your presence here today is a clear demonstration of your commitment to the transitional justice of the Gambia, to human rights, and to our shared goal of ensuring that never again shall violations of the magnitude which we heard before the TRRC occur again in our beloved country. As was stated by the Master of Ceremony, and as I'm sure we are all aware, the government white paper, which was issued on the 25th of May 2022, in response to the TRRC final recommendation report, which was submitted on the 25th of November 2021, it assigned the NHRC the responsibility of monitoring the implementation of its accepted recommendation and reporting annually to the National Assembly. It's important that we always explain. People will say, why again the NHRC? This is one of our mandates. And we do this, and this is therefore the third report. It is in fulfillment of this responsibility that the NHRC, with the technical support from the National Monitoring Committee that was constituted by the NHRC, has prepared this third report. And of course, with the support of the government, the funding that we receive from government, and of course, with the support of development partners. So this forum has been organized to uphold our commitment to being transparent, being consultative, and also inclusivity in this vital national process. We have convened key stakeholders today, including victims, victim-led organizations, government and non-government actors, and technical experts, not only to scrutinize the content of the draft report, but to contribute substantially to its finalization. So today's agenda, which you have before you, reflects this participatory approach. We will begin with a presentation of the draft status report. We'll have our staff who have been working tirelessly on the document to give us a presentation covering the methodology that was used, the arrangement of the report, as well as the challenges identified and the recommendations proposed. So please stay at least for those of you who are here just to observe, please stay for that presentation. And following this presentation, participants will be divided into working groups to review and assess the different portions of the draft report, with the aim of getting feedback and identifying areas for further strengthening. And after the afternoon break, lunch, we will reconvene for a plenary discussion with each group, where each group will present its findings, raise any critical observation, and propose additions or revision. This collaborative process, ladies and gentlemen, ensures that our final report is reflective not only of NHRC observations. This is what we don't want people to say, well, you didn't get this. That's why we had requested earlier from the different various ministries and agencies to give us feedback on certain key areas that we had requested. This is, again, your opportunity to correct and give us more input so that we will, it's not a fight, this report, it is to reflect exactly what is on the ground. And that was why the NHRC set up this group, this consultative group, so that we'll be meeting every quarterly. So the importance of this validation exercise cannot be overstated. This report will not only inform the National Assembly of the progress made by the executive in implementing the white paper, but it will also serve as a tool for promoting greater accountability, interagency coordination, and sustained political will. We have to. This is a good arrangement. We have done our mapping assessment study tour on other countries with the TJ process. And we discovered that if you do not have an institution, and really kudos to this government that they actually accepted in black and white that the NHRC will be the body. We would have done it anyway. We are very nosy. We would have even assumed it. But the fact that the government has accepted this, it keeps them on their toes, because we are knocking on each agencies, each government institution, asking them, where are you? This is the timeline. Where are we? When are you going to do it? So really, again, kudos to the government. But again, as we know, we have to sustain the political will. People keep on asking, is the political will there? But let me assure you that the NHRC will always make sure that it is sustained. And but most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, this convening this session is a mechanism to keep the voices of victims and communities at the heart of the TJ process. So let me take this opportunity to thank our partners again, really, and members of the National Monitoring Committee. We've been meeting every quarter, for their ongoing technical and strategic support to the NHRC, and to recognize the invaluable input of all stakeholders represented here. This is important, really, and I think this is why, despite the challenges, we have had success. And today, many people are doing studies on the TJ process of the Gambia, the TRRC. So let us take this opportunity again, and I urge all of you to engage fully and share your perspective openly, and help us ensure that the final report, which will be submitted by the end of this month, that is our target, to the National Assembly, is, one, accurate. It's important that we have accuracy in our reports. That's how you get credibility. But also it's robust, it's comprehensive, and truly representative of our national efforts to heal, to reform, and to move forward. So I wish all of you a fruitful deliberation, and thank you very much. We're all in it together. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, for highlighting the task that has been mandated by the TRRC report on NHRC to monitor the implementation, and also for highlighting the role of the multi-stakeholder committee in the whole process. And you have also explained the methodology, citing the way the day will unfold during this process. And the essence of the report is not only to inform NHR, is not only to inform the National Assembly or the executive, but also to serve as a tool for promoting accountability. And you have also assured the NHRC's role to maintain, sustain the implementation process. And you urge all participants to fully engage in order to ensure the accuracy of the data. And you have also acknowledged the funding from the Ministry of Finance to support the process. And I think that's very important, for which we are indeed grateful. And at this point, I call upon DPS Julde Sise to come forward and deliver this statement on behalf of the Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs. Madam Sise, you are welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Honorable Fatoumata Ndiaye, Member of the National Assembly, distinguished Chairperson, Commissioners of the NHRC, members of the National Assembly present, Special Advisor to the Attorney General and Minister of Justice on Transitional Justice, members of the diplomatic corps, representatives of the civil service and victim-led organizations, representatives of the UN agencies and development partners, members of the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning to all. It is my great honor to deliver these remarks on behalf of my Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs at this one-day validation workshop of the third status report on the implementation of the TRRC white paper for an enhanced governance and rule of law. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the commitment of the government articulated and envisioned through the white paper on the TRRC report reflects a key step in our collective resolution to the effective implementation of the TRRC report. As the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, the white paper is not only a moral imperative, but also an investment in peace, human security, democratic governance, and sustainable development, which are cornerstones of our RF NDP 2020-23 to 2027. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I commended the NHRC, National Human Rights Commission, and stakeholders for their role in preparing the third status report. Their work signals transparency and collaboration. This validation process, therefore, ensures stakeholders are not only heard, but are also held accountable in the building of a future grounded in justice and human dignity, as already alluded by the head of the Commission. I want to assure of my ministry's full commitment to the execution of the TRRC recommendations. Since the release of the white paper and the accompanying implementation plan 2023 to 2027 of our National Development Plan, the government has endeavored to provide the necessary financial resource for effective executions in all spheres. We will continue the partnership and support from our development partners to ensure we have the resources for the implementation of the plan successfully. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as a government, we recognize that national justice is not one-off event, but a sustainable process that requires resource mobilization and prioritization. We also acknowledge the challenges that come with implementation: competing physical demands, limited capacities, and the urgency to meet the health and other needs of the victims. Yes, these challenges cannot prevent us. Instead, they will motivate us to be more innovative, more inclusive, and more resolute. The forum today is more than a technical review. It provides an opportunity and space for national reflection. The insights here today will shape the final report to be presented to the National Assembly to guide our nation's continued healing. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I reaffirm my ministry's unwavering financial commitment to this process. We will continue to work closely with all implementing agencies, including the NHRC, civil society organizations, and our development partners to ensure that the promises made in the white paper are translated into tangible, just, and timely action to add to the realization of the Pillar 2 of the RF-NDP for the attainment of effective governance reforms. On this note, I wish you all fruitful deliberations and thank you all for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Julde Cisse, DPS, Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, for that insightful statement. You have cited the white paper as not only a moral imperative, but also an investment and a cornerstone of recovery-focused national development plan, YIROA. I think this is indeed a laudable statement. You also indicated the commitment of the ministry to the implementation of TRRC recommendation. I think this is indeed this is something my honorable chair would be happy to always hear, and that you will also endeavor to look for resources to support the implementation process. Although you highlighted the challenges along the way, but you indicated that in fact this will serve as motivation to do more, to be more innovative, to find ways to actually implement this. And you concluded on a note of financial commitment to the process. Thank you very much, DPS Cisse. At this point, I would now like to call upon the Honorable Advisor to the Attorney General and Minister of Justice and Head of Secretariat, Post-TRRC Unit, Madam Ida Person, to come forward and make a statement. Thank you.
Distinguished Chairperson of the National Human Rights Commission, Mr. Emmanuel Diouf, and distinguished commissioners of the National Human Rights Commission, DPS Julde Cisse, representing the Minister of Foreign Affairs, of Finance, Honorable Fatma Njai, member of the National Assembly Standing Committee on Human Rights and Constitutional Matters, commissioners of the Reparations Commission, members of the Diplomatic Corps, represented here by the UN Resident Coordinator, the Deputy Head of Mission, the European Union, and the Deputy British High Commissioner, distinguished victims, survivors, representatives of civil society organizations, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols respectfully and duly observed. On behalf of the Honorable Attorney General and Minister of Justice, I extend the government of the Gambia's sincere appreciation to the National Human Rights Commission and its monitoring committee for preparing the third status report on the implementation of the government white paper on the TRRC report. This report is the outcome of no small endeavor, with at least 192 TRRC recommendations being simultaneously implemented across dozens of government ministries, departments, and agencies, and with the support of an impressive list of victim-led organizations, civil society organizations, and development partners. So on behalf of the government of the Gambia, I extend congratulations to the Human Rights Commission and to all stakeholders involved in this process and present here today. Whilst this may simply be a validation meeting to some, to the government, it calls for a moment of reflection and it calls for a moment of reaffirmation. Ladies and gentlemen, the government of the Gambia is fully committed to implementing the TRRC recommendations as defined in the white paper. Over the years, tangible and deliberate actions have been taken and major milestones have been witnessed. Last year, this saw the enactment of the Special Accountability Mechanism Act, the Special Prosecutor's Office Act, and the passage of the decision by ECOWAS heads of authority to establish the Special Tribunal for the Gambia. From a monitoring perspective, these developments did not strike out a TRRC recommendation as complete, but rather as ongoing. But whether completed or ongoing, I think you would all agree with me that we cannot overstate how the establishment of all three components of our special accountability mechanism within 1 year is a notable achievement and one that the Gambia is being studied and applauded for all over the world. Our efforts to strengthen institutional accountability and to promote a culture of human rights are working, even if slowly. The Status of Human Rights report of the NHRC discusses this. Justice sector actors, including police officers, correctional staff, and others are receiving training in human rights, due process, and victim-centered practices. These efforts are contributing to building a more professional, responsive, and rights-respecting justice system. It is very true that the outcome of our collective efforts are not always immediate or evidently felt, and we must continue to work to ensure that this is the case. However, by all indications, we are moving forward in the implementation of the TRRC recommendations. We are not at a standstill, and we are not moving backwards. However, when it comes to the implementation of recommendations around reparations, ladies and gentlemen, and the welfare of victims and survivors, we must move faster. Earlier this year, the government of the Gambia established a Reparations Commission, which has in turn opened the Reparations Fund. The commissioners and secretariat are working diligently to become fully operational with the necessary institutional frameworks and policies to achieve their mandate. The government recognizes the urgency of this process and remains deeply committed to ensuring that reparations reach victims as soon as possible. These efforts are connected to a broader continental momentum reflected in the African Union's theme for 2025 on advancing justice for Africans and people of African descent through reparations. Unfortunately, these calls for reparations for Africans and people of African descent, echoing all over the continent, the Caribbean, and the world, are also happening at a time of increasing global threats to multilateralism. Here in the Gambia in 2025, we have felt the effects of shifts in global development financing landscape. Reductions in funding across the development sector have influenced the pace and the scope of delivery on transitional justice, including the delivery on the implementation of the TRRC recommendations. But public expectations remain high, especially amongst victims and their communities most affected by past violations. It is very important that we take this moment to therefore reconsider existing strategies for implementation. We need to reprioritize our actions, but more importantly, we need to reaffirm our resolve to adapt, mobilize, and to remain transparent and focused. Despite the challenges that have always, mind you, presented themselves in various ways over the years, we must, through our transitional justice process, ensure that we are not walking alone and that we are forging and maintaining our partnerships. So I seize this opportunity to recognize the victims and survivors of the previous regime and the organizations that represent them, as well as other civil society organizations who have made every aspect of the TRRC implementation process their very own. I'd also, of course, want to acknowledge and to thank the donors and the development partners that provide year in and year out financial and technical assistance to this process. The United Nations system, UNDP and OHCHR, the European Union, the UK government, International IDEA, Democracy International, the European Union, American Bar Association. There's a very long list of friends, and I apologize if I've missed anybody. But truly, ladies and gentlemen, the message today from us, the government, is that reparations cannot wait, and the establishment of the Reparations Commission and the Reparations Fund means that the government is now calling upon all partners in our transitional justice process to support this endeavor. What is required on reparations is for it to be swift and satisfactorily delivered. However, I need to reiterate that transitional justice, otherwise, by its very nature, does not always lend itself to immediate or easily quantifiable results. Some of the most significant impact, such as restoring trust in our institutions, fostering reconciliation, shifting culture to accountability, unfold gradually, and often they unfold beyond conventional metrics. These are not always visible in the short term, but they are no less important. And so it is within this complex landscape that our efforts must always be understood. As we look ahead, our priorities are clear. We are focused on fully operationalizing the Reparations Commission and the Special Prosecutor's Office to roll out reparations to victims in urgent needs and to commence investigations of human rights violations and crimes that occurred during the previous regime. We must also intensify our efforts to engage the public, to strengthen civic education, and to maintain transparency, to ensure that this process is inclusive, nationally owned, and shaped by the voices of those that are most impacted. The implementation of the TRRC recommendations is not a symbolic gesture. It is a matter of justice, and it is a test of leadership. Above all, it is a commitment to future generations of Gambians that they are deserving and worthy of a more just, inclusive, peaceful, and prosperous society. So with sharpened focus, a stronger sense of shared responsibility, and more innovative ways in financing, sharing and finding resources, the Gambia can not only, but will undoubtedly emerge from this chapter stronger, more just, and more united. I thank you all for your kind attention. On behalf of the Honorable Minister of Justice, I congratulate you again on this, like I said, no small endeavor of putting together a report that monitors 263 recommendations, and to tell you that we're in it, like you said, Chairman, together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Person. You cited today as a moment of reflection and reaffirmation on your part, and you cited the government's full commitment to implementation of TRRC white paper, and you have cited some very important efforts that has been made with specific reference to special accountability mechanisms, and that the ministry is moving forward on the implementation. The issues of payment of reparations and victims occupy center stage in your activities, and that the Reparation Commission has been already set up, and you are working towards fully operationalizing the Reparation Commission, as well as the Special Prosecutor's Office. You highlighted challenges in terms of threats posed by multilateralism, which does not spare the Gambia, and this would require reprioritization and more innovative ways of financing. And you concluded by conveying gratitude to the Commission for spearheading the development of this report. Thank you very much. At this point, we would like to recognize the presence of the UN resident coordinator in our midst, as well as the honorable commissioners from the Reparation Commission. We have reached the high point. At this moment, I would like to call upon Honorable Fatoumata Njai, NAM, Banjul South. Yes, I'm correct, Banjul South. And also member of the Standing Committee on Human Rights and Constitutional Matters that has oversight over the Commission. You are welcome. Thank you. She's going to give the opening statement for the validation. Thank you.
Distinguished Chairman of the National Human Rights Commission, Mr. Emmanuel Daniel Diouf, Commissioners of the National Human Rights Commission, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Ms. Julde Cisse, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Finance, Economic Affairs, here representing the Minister, Special Advisor to the Honorable Attorney General and Minister of Justice on Transitional Justice, my dear sister Ida, representatives of the civil society and victim-led organizations here present today, representatives of the United Nations agencies and development partners, all present, members of the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all protocol duly and respectfully observed. A very happy good morning to you all. Let me take this opportunity to first of all thank the Human Rights Commission on behalf of my chairperson, Mr. Madi Jabate, and all members, Madi Cisse, excuse me, slip of the tongue, Mr. Madi Cisse, and all members of the Committee of the Human Rights and Constitutional Matters of the National Assembly for giving us the opportunity to give the opening statement of this very important validation day today. Of the validation of the draft third status report on the implementation of the government white paper on the report of the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission. This forum is not only important in the transition process the Gambia is going through, it also marks another critical milestone. Within this ongoing transitional justice process, which is deeply rooted in our collective pursuit of truth, justice, accountability, and most importantly, our national healing. The importance of today's gathering, therefore, cannot be overstated. It is not only a reflection of our progress, it also stands as a reminder of the work that still lies ahead undone and that needs serious attention before we can progress and heal as a nation united in its pursuit for justice for victims of gross human rights violations during the period. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as you are all aware, the TRRC was established to investigate and establish an accurate historical record of gross human rights violations, abuses committed between July 1994 and January 2017. The final report, which was submitted to the President in November 2021, was accumulation of extensive testimonies, truth-telling, and national introspection. In response, the government's white paper, published in May 2022, exactly 6 months after the Commission submitted the final report, which was in accordance and in compliance with Section 33 of the TRRC Act 2017, which mandated the government to issue a white paper within 6 months following the submission, which shall contain the government's proposed plan on the implementation of the recommendations in the Gazette. This the government complied with and outlined its position on each of the 265 of these recommendations. All but 2 were accepted in whole or part. Significantly, the government designated the National Human Rights Commission as the lead institution to monitor the implementations of the said recommendations, and to report annually to the National Assembly on the progresses made. And a committee that I am a member of oversees what the National Human Rights Commission reports on and on the implementations thus far. It is in the fulfillment of this mandate that we are here gathered today. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the role of the National Assembly is to ensure that the executive is held accountable for its commitments as contained in policy documents such as this very important white paper we are talking about today on the report of the TRRC. This oversight responsibility is therefore not only a symbolic action, but it is rather a constitutional obligation that lies in the heart of our democracy and the respect for the rule of law. The draft report before us today is the product of tireless effort by the National Human Rights Commission and its support monitoring committee. It reflects the outcome and broad consultations, technical reviews, as well as data-driven monitoring. Hence, it offers a candid assessment of where we stand today in the implementation processes, highlighting the progress achieved, the challenges encountered, and most importantly, the gaps that remain. I therefore take this opportunity on behalf of the Honorable Chairperson of the Human Rights and Constitutional Matters Committee of the National Assembly, Mr. Madi Cisse, to express our sincere appreciation to all institutions and individuals that have contributed to the preparation of this very important document. Your continued engagement is critical in ensuring that this process remains transparent, it remains participatory, and most importantly, it remains victim-centered. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would also like to recognize the courage of victims and survivors, both direct and indirect victims. When we talk about victims, we don't only talk about those that were directly inflicted with harm. I stand here as an indirect victim because I lost the most beloved, my father, in the struggle to remove dictatorship and to ensure the rule of law is expected in this country. So I might not be directly inflicted on my person but my soul The commitment to the Never Again agenda must therefore be matched by action, and as the Permanent Secretary said, with resources readily made available, and most importantly, with the political will. It can only be achieved and be sustained with the right political will and commitment by the government and the people of this country. As we proceed with today's deliberations, I encourage all stakeholders to engage constructively and critically by working together to enhance the report, to identify practical solutions to bottlenecks, and to reaffirm our shared determination and commitment to build a future anchored in the rule of law, respect for human rights, and more importantly, to democratic accountability and a measurement to the test for leadership and commitment in holding our leaders accountable. As members of the National Assembly, my colleagues and I look forward to receiving the final report and endeavor to continuously commit ourselves in our oversight functions and keep the engagement with the government for effective implementation of the white paper. As emphasized by both the chairperson of the National Human Rights Commission, as well as the special advisor to the Attorney General and the Minister of Justice on Transitional Justice, it is now time for reflection and commitment, as public expectation remains high and the need for reparations cannot wait any longer. Justice must be served to the people. Justice delayed is justice denied. I thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for your presence and continued partnership, support, and commitment to enhance the enjoyment of human rights and respect for the rule of law in our beloved country, the Gambia. And on this note, I declare this validation open while thanking you all for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Fatoumatta Njie. We have come to the end of the opening ceremony. Emel? Yes. The traditional photo session. Yeah. Although it's not written on the program guide, in the high table to attend photo session in front, just in the reception area. Yeah, thank you.
Let them organize quickly so that we can come back.
Yeah. So can we do that quickly so that we resume to continue the program? Yeah, thank you very much.